Comics #1 hit the stands, forever changing the face of graphic fiction. 75 years later, and the word Marvel has become synonymous with the highest quality of entertainment worldwide. I'm Marvel Editor-in-Chief Axel Alonso, inviting you to join us all year long, celebrating the 75th anniversary of Marvel by exploring its rich history, looking decade by decade at the characters, creators, and events that have defined the House of Ideas. From comics, to movies, to TV, to video games, to toys and beyond, we will cover it all. Keep checking back into marvel.com/75 as the celebration unfolds, with exclusive videos, in-depth podcasts, exciting galleries, and much more, featuring Captain America, the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, Spider-Man, Thor, the Avengers, Iron Man, the X-Men, Daredevil, the Black Panther, the Punisher, Luke Cage, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Wolverine, Elektra, Deadpool, Jessica Jones, and the rest of the Marvel Universe. Hear from the men and women responsible for creating the Marvel Universe, as well as experts, celebrities, and even you, as we ask for feedback and opinions. So join the party and be part of the 75th anniversary of Marvel, your universe.
As the golden age of comics faded during the 1950s, superheroes would give way to monsters, westerns, romance, and other brands of four-color entertainment. However, in 1960s, new costume figures with phenomenal powers began to emerge, signaling the birth of the Marvel Universe. Under the leadership of Stan Lee, and with titanic creators such as Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and John Romita, among a score of all-stars laying the foundation, Atlas Comics transformed into Marvel Comics, beginning with the Fantastic Four bursting on the scene in 1961. Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Girl, the Human Torch, and the Thing represented a new kind of heroes who reflected real-life family dynamics and set the stage for the type of characters that would come to represent Marvel. Gamma radiation transformed scientist Bruce Banner into the Incredible Hulk. An irradiated arachnid and a powerful lesson in responsibility make Peter Parker the Amazing Spider-Man. Crippled Donald Blake discovers an enchanted cane that unleashes the mighty Thor, God of Thunder. On the verge of death, wealthy inventor Tony Stark creates his own invincible armor as Iron Man. Professor Charles Xavier bands a group of outcast mutants together to form the X-Men. Lawyer Matt Murdock loses his sight but gains much more as Daredevil, the man without fear. Natasha Romanoff begins as a Russian spy working against the United States, but sees the light and turns her skills to the side of good as the Black Widow. Whether safeguarding his homeland of Wakanda or the shores of the US, T'Challa battles nobly as the Black Panther. And when evil emerges, no single force for good can fight alone. Earth's mightiest heroes assemble as the Avengers. As the decade continued, the idea continued to flow from within Marvel, with Doctor Strange, Nick Fury, Hawkeye, the Inhumans, S.H.I.E.L.D., the Silver Surfer, the Falcon, and more joining the ranks of good, while evil gained its own representatives, including Doctor Doom, Loki, Magneto, the Green Goblin, and Galactus. As the 1970s dawned, Marvel's creators began to explore different genres and frontiers. The first half of the decade would see heroes as varied as Ghost Rider, the biker with a demon's face, but a hero's heart, to Luke Cage, a former gang member framed for a crime he didn't commit, who busted out of prison to redeem himself. Representing the martial arts craze sweeping the nation, Shang-Chi, master of Kung Fu, would make his debut, followed soon after by the living weapon called Iron Fist. Vigilantes such as the Punisher and Moon Knight, an ex-Marine on a mission of vengeance after losing his family, and a soldier of fortune with a split personality would push the boundaries even further. Marvel would also explore the stars, introducing the villainous Thanos, as well as the noble Nova. And while they wouldn't meet for many years, Drax, Gamora, Star-Lord, and Rocket Raccoon all first appeared during this time. As the 1970s wound to a close, the X-Men would undergo a revitalization at the hands of Len Wein, Dave Cockrum, Chris Claremont, and later, John Byrne, reimagined as a team of international heroes, including Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and, of course, Wolverine. Despite all the worlds Marvel had already explored, for many, the best would be yet to come. In the 1980s, comic books became big business, and Marvel remained on the forefront with groundbreaking stories and massive events. Two long-running series hit a critical stride as artist Frank Miller assumed the writing reins on Daredevil, with Chris Claremont and a host of collaborators including John Byrne, Dave Cockrum, Paul Smith, and John Romita Jr. continued to establish Uncanny X-Men as a seminal Marvel hit. Miller would redefine the man without fear, transforming Daredevil into a gritty and noir-tinged drama littered with organized crime, ninjas, and even a touch of black magic. Popular femme fatale Elektra made her debut, while veteran villains Kingpin and Bullseye gained more of an edge. By the time he departed the series in 1983, Miller had changed the game in comic storytelling, with many other books following his lead. Meanwhile, in Uncanny X-Men, Claremont and his artistic compatriots unleashed a creative maelstrom, introducing characters such as Dazzler, Emma Frost, and Kitty Pryde, while telling sprawling stories set in outer space, the far future and beyond, including the Dark Phoenix Saga and Days of Future Past. Claremont would remain steward of the X-Men into the next decade. Editor-in-Chief Jim Shooter brought a measure of stability to the position, reigning through 1987. He would lead Marvel through a lucrative period and spearhead initiatives like the creator-owned Epic imprint and comics' first true event, the 12-issue Secret Wars. By the 90s, Marvel had found unprecedented success and expanded their line of X-Men and Spider-Man titles to record sales. Artistic talent including Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, and Todd McFarlane redefined the visual looks of classic characters. In 1991, on the strength of their success over the past decade, Marvel Entertainment went public and offered stock in the company for the first time. Unfortunately, the good times would not last forever. Despite the introduction of enduring characters like Deadpool and Gambit, as well as a slate of hit animated series and video games, the entire comic book market would experience a downturn in the middle of the decade, which, coupled with other factors, forced Marvel to declare bankruptcy in 1996. The company would find new footing, but it would be a climb to return to the heights they had once enjoyed. In the final years of the 90s, the rebuilding process began with the Heroes Return banner, bringing longtime properties like Avengers, Captain America, and Iron Man back to prominence in the hands of creators like Kurt Busiek, Mark Waid, and others. Meanwhile, a pair of artists named Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti struck up a deal to form their own imprint within the company called Marvel Knights. Handed underutilized characters such as the Black Panther and the Inhumans, the pair produced a mega hit with Daredevil, written by film director Kevin Smith and drawn by Quesada. Marvel Knights would be the beginning of a much-needed rebirth for Marvel as a whole.